You haven't seen nothing yet, but I'm going to give you probably the hottest and coolest person in the biohacking world right now.
Can I come on?
Yes, please come on.
Okay, awesome.
This is Bethan.
Hi.
Hi, Bethan. Fantastic to have you here. Bethan, what you guys are doing is quite amazing, and it's capturing the whole biohacker movement right now, because you guys are running a Kickstarter campaign right now that is sort of going through the roof.
Yes.
Which is the type of projects that all of us biohackers have been longing for just to happen, which is really about the democratization of lab technology.
Yeah.
So please take us away.
Okay, awesome. So I'm just going to note a little side. So I'm here to talk about Bento Lab. But aside from that, I also do a lot of research around the gut microbiome. So I just wanted to put that out there because I'd be super interested to talk to other people about that today. Can I get the clicker? Awesome. So I'm going to start with my story before I explain exactly what we're doing. I became a biohacker about 4 years ago. And at the time, we were working in Hackney. I was an undergrad student. We went out and we met the guys there. And we thought that they could teach us biology because I was a student and they were biohackers. And actually, it turned out to be the opposite way round. They grabbed us and they're like, oh my God, we're all computer scientists. You teach us biology. And we were doing this iGEM competition. So we're like, oh, great. Yeah, that's a nice way of us to collaborate with kind of like a group that's not within academia. So we spent the summer working on a project together. We created a biobrick using synthetic biology, which is like a gene in a standardized format. And it was an exploration of how is that technology accessible, and how is the iGEM competition in particular, which is supposed to be increasing access, but actually it's restricted to academia. How do you make that more accessible? So part of that involved, as you just saw, building equipment in their space. And then we had to bring them into our space because of regulations and also because of the type of equipment that we needed. So this, for me and my co-founder, this really started a discussion around how accessible is this technology and why isn't it more accessible? Because for us, one of the most difficult parts was, well, you have all of these incredibly interested people, and one of the challenges for them is actually getting a hold of the equipment to just get started. And so we were thinking, well, if you look at the history of the personal computer revolution 60 years ago, they looked like this. They were huge, inaccessible. Fast forward, and they become increasingly smaller. And actually, you've got more computing power on your phone now than this computer probably did. So looking at like a lab today, so this is my lab, or a lab like this in 2016. And I've set the slides up deliberately, so it does look a bit like that computer from the 60s. But what does the lab of tomorrow look like, and who's using it? So what we've built, Bento Lab, and I have a prototype with me that we're going to be showing off later if you want to come have a bit of a play. Bento Lab is how we want to contribute towards that movement. So it contains all of the tools that you need to do basic DNA analysis. We're coming at it from a different angle from Arcturus BioCloud, although I think both are probably just as important. So with this, you can, say, take a bit of your sample, a sample of like your saliva or maybe some meat or whatever you want to analyze that contains DNA. You extract the DNA, you copy the gene that you're looking for, if it's a known gene, and then you can look at it. So we started building prototypes last summer. That was a painful process doing it by hand. But we got to work with about 20 amazing people around the world who beta tested them out for us. And I'd like to share some of their stories. So this is Gianpaolo, and he is hacking beer. He looks at beer and how it's genetically related to all the different yeast strains. And then he can tell you, okay, well, you like this craft IPA. I can recommend a different beer that's genetically similar, and it will have a similar flavor, which is awesome. Then we also have people that are using it for STEM outreach. This is Stefan. He goes out into the field and he picks up animal feces and he extracts the DNA from that, and he looks at how the animals are evolving or interacting. And in his kind of spare time, he gets kids to extract DNA from worms. This is one of my favorite beta testers. This is David. He's a retired chemist. He lives in Wales. And he's cool because he's a biohacker and he doesn't even know that biohacking is cool, like without wanting to participate in a trend. So he's a mushroom collector. I didn't even know that was a thing before I met David, but it is. He collects mushrooms, he extracts the DNA, and then he tries to figure out what type of mushroom it is and identify it. And he has to send the DNA off for sequencing to do that, but he's getting a step closer to doing it at home in his garage by using this type of technology. And then just as kind of a last example, so this is Kevin. So he is the founder of a synthetic biology startup. They're producing cannabinoids via yeast for medical purposes. So for example, to treat Alzheimer's. So he's using the lab kind of to show, when he goes and pitches, what does my company do and how does synthetic biology work? He can pick it up and he can be like, well, this is a lab and let me show you what you can do. But also he works at a space in Montreal. Not working, no? Do you mind clicking forwards for me?
Try again.
Yeah. And he's investigating, so again, how can you automate biology processes within that type of space. So that's kind of like a liquid handling robot, and then looking at how do you fit that in with the equipment that you need so that you can program, as Jaime and Luis were talking about, how do you program biology. So our goal in starting out was really to say, well, we wanted a starter kit to get involved, so we actually want to build a starter kit for other people. So alongside the lab, what we're also working on at the moment is kind of experiments that you can do at home that we know will work. So like testing if you're lactose intolerant, or seeing if there's horse meat in your hamburger. And what's exciting is that we're starting to build a community around this. And biology isn't always reliable. It often isn't reliable. But if we have a bigger community that can contribute to this and can share their own ideas of experiments that they would want to be doing, then we get that step closer towards making biology a programmable language, or something like that. So as Hannah said, we launched on Kickstarter about 2 weeks ago, and the reaction has been pretty astonishing, pretty exciting. It's also been a little bit daunting because we have people coming to us and saying, can I do a paternity test with your lab? And I'm like, yes, but I don't. Do you want to? That's the kind of thing. So it's raised a lot of questions around bioethics and how do we support people to do biology testing at home, but also to support them to understand the results. And understand, actually, you're not the daddy, or you are the daddy, but your test, your experiment went wrong. But I think this is a really important topic. I think this is something that we want to engage with, because we don't understand. Science is so off limits that it's difficult to even have that discussion around. Okay, well, this just isn't working. What does gene editing mean? So we're actually now, one of our kind of stretch goals is to start getting this also into schools. So our kind of initial aim was, let's make this available to anyone that wants to use it. And now we want to think about, okay, well, how do we build materials around this so that we can start integrating it at a really young age, so that the next generation of people is really bioliterate. So yeah, I guess, this is sort of the theme that I wanted to explore, which is, so like I said, with this type of technology, you could get it off eBay, and you can do things like explore your own genome. And at the moment it is fairly long and tedious, but the issue is also around the data and understanding the data, and as a society as a whole, how accessible that data is. With Bento, we really think that should be more commonplace. It should be something, data that we're engaging with on a daily basis, and that we're pushing to make more kind of consumer friendly. So, yeah, thank you.
Great, Bethan.
Ooh, I had a side note, which is that at some point within the next month, I'm going to be going to a meeting where I'm talking about human gene editing with like the National Association of Science. And if you guys have any thoughts about what you feel about human gene editing from a community lab point of view, then I'd be interested to hear them, because I get to talk about that in that discussion. So yeah, I'm looking for feedback.
Yeah, great. Bethany, and she's not just a cool biohacker, she's also have an awesome last name, Wolfenden, which I found out is a working name.
Yeah.
So
Welcome back. Yeah.
how many of you have heard about the Kickstarter campaign? Some of you? Great. How many want the Bento Lab? That's a stupid question. Thank you so much, Bethany. And she will also be, you will also be here today.
Yes,
Yeah.
check out the demo later, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Perfect.